Hi guys, and hi lady. I received two more kits from NuNu today, and they are both re-releases. And one is the Toyota Celica GT-4, and this time is the 91 Tour de Corse race. And then the second one is the ever famous BMW M3, and this one is the 88 Spa winner. So let's look at them one by one. Now for each of this kit, I also received the super detailing set, which I will look at them after checking out the kit. Now let's look at the Celica. Okay, obviously we have the body, and then the chrome parts. These for the headlight housing, and then we have the clear parts, and here are some of the detailing parts. And this last pack of sprues are the main chassis, the driver's compartment, and also the roll cage. And we have tires, decal, and of course instruction. Okay, first of all, let's look at the body. Okay, the molding of the body is as usual very nice and very smooth, and the surface is nicely polished. But since this is an earlier release of from NuNu, so some of the details are molded on, like the door handles and the ventilation openings at the roof of the car is they are molded on. It would be nice if they are separate. And the panel lines of the doors and the hood and the rear trunk are nicely done. They are very sharp and very clean. Closer look at the body and the molding. And then next we have the main sprues of the chassis and the roll cage, and also the driver's compartment. Let's look at the chassis closely. As you can see, the details are nicely done again. Then we have the brake disc, and then the mudguard flaps, the protection metal plate on the bottom of the car, and we have separate brakes, the exhaust pipe. Here's a large piece of protection plate on the bottom of the chassis, and then the windshield wipers. And then we come to this sprue with the driving compartment and the seats and the wheels. Let's look at them closely. Here's the driver's compartment. Well, these are the earlier releases from NuNu, so the driver's compartment is like a tub, and the inside door panels are molded on to the tub. And then we have the seats here. The seats are quite nicely done. And then the front of the car, the antenna, and some of the equipment inside the driver's compartment, such as the fire extinguisher, and then the cooling air hose. And then we come to the instrument panel. This one is kind of basic, and also the wheels. For rally cars you have 5 wheels because they always have a spare tire. And then the next sprue is the roll cage. Again, nice set of parts. There are 3 small sprue, or 4 small sprues. Okay, these are some other parts. Some of them will not be required for this particular kit. And here we have the suspension, both front and back, and also the main driving shaft. Here's some of the other parts. It's a rear view mirror. This is the headlight. If you want it to pop up, it can pop up. And here is other detailing parts, the other version, the rear view mirrors. And then these are the dishes for the wheel, and these are the headlights for Safari, and I'm not sure you need this for this particular livery. Anyways, these are nice. And then we have the clear parts. Well, again, since this is an earlier release from NuNu, you can see the windshield is traditional one-piece kind of for the windshield and also the side windows. And then we have the cover for headlights. Kind of basic, still they are very clear, and the molding is very clean and sharp. Then we have the chrome parts. These are for the rear view mirrors, and here are the headlight housing, and also the rear light. And lastly, we have 5 tires for the wheels,
and a wire mesh,
probably for the radiator. And the tires are quite nicely done. We need to sand off the parting line in the middle of the tires. Yeah. Okay. And then we have the decal. Well, the main decal is nice and sharp again. The white is very solid, and the registration is very good. They're spot on. Color is very solid. Then a set of window trims. And then lastly, we have the instruction. As usual, we have the main illustration on top of the cover, and then a short description of the history of the car, and then some remark on assembling of the model kit. Well, then at the top of the page 1, we have the recommendation paint list, and then a description on how to apply decal, and then some symbol on the assembly of the car. First of all, we have the coloring of the chassis, and then we have the assembly of the brake and the shock absorbers, and then installation of all the brakes. And here's the steering linkage, and then the installation of the driving shaft and the exhaust pipe. Then we have the installation of the on the front suspension setup, and then also the various protection plates on the bottom of the chassis, and then installation of the wheels, and then adding the detail parts onto the driver's compartment, and also some painting guide of the driver's compartment, assembly of the spare wheels, painting guide for the instrument panel, decaling of the seats with the safety harness, and then assembly of all the parts onto the driver's compartment. And then we have the assembly of the roll cage, installation of the roll cage, installation of the windshield wipers, and then decaling of the windshield with the black trimming, assembly of the tail lights, and then cutting the wire mesh to put into the front of the car, and the pop-up headlights, installation of the front of the car onto the main body, and then installation of the grille for the radiator, side markers lights, and more headlights parts, and then installation of the chrome part of the headlights, and then we have completion of the main body and the chassis, and then addition of the mud flaps and also the antenna, and then we have the decaling guide. And then as usual we have the sprue list, and you can see that some of the parts are not used in this particular kit. So that completes the instruction. Once again, as I mentioned, this is an earlier release from NuNu. I think it was called B-Max then, and the kit is a bit basic, but I'm sure it can build into a very nice replica of this car. Now, I also received the detailing set for this particular model. So now let's look at the detailing set. Well, as with all the detailing set from NuNu, first of all we have a ribbon for the safety harness, and then we have a turn metal part and a wire for the antenna, and we have a couple pieces of photo etch parts, and then we have the instruction. So let's look at the photo etch parts, because it's the main items in this super detailing kits, and we can see that we have all the fittings for the safety harness, and then some fastener for the hose, and I guess it's the fastener for the fire extinguisher, brake disc, better scale thickness kind of mud flaps, and some detail parts in the compartment, and the windshield wipers, and also the hood fastener, and then some wire meshes, and some nuts and bolts. And the second small sheet of photo etch contains the wire mesh for the radiator, and a couple of backing plates for the Raleigh stickers, and also the metal plate for the license plate. And here are the machine parts and also the wire for the antenna. So let's look at the instruction. First of all, we have step 1, which is the installation of the brake disc. Well, this is the footsteps for the driver and the navigator, and then the straps for the fire extinguisher, and the assembly of the safety harness. And these are the bracelet for the spare wheels, and then the assembly of the windshield wipers. And here is the metal plate for the number plate, and also the metal plate for the Raleigh stickers, the wire mesh for the air intake, and then the towing hook, and then some fastener assembly for the hoods, and the gas tank opener. And here we can make openings on the roof for the ventilating openings. We can assemble the cover open or close, which is nice. And here is the assembly of the mud flaps. And then finally, the installation of the antenna. Again, this super detailing up set is going to make the build-up model so much nicer. So, you just can't do without it. And here we go, the Toyota Celica GT-4 and its detail-up parts are from NuNu's. Next, we come to the beautiful, famous BMW M3. Let's look at the parts inside. Again, we have the body, but this time we have the hood comes in a separate piece. And for the chrome parts, we have some wheels and also the headlight housing. And here is the clear parts for the window and the windshield. And this bag is full of the front and the back of the car, the bumper, the front grille, and the front hood of the car. There's also the brake disc and also the muffler, the driver's seat. We'll look at them in detail later. And we have the tires, and also these two large sprues of the chassis, and also the roll cage and etc. And we have very nicely looking decals. And then finally the instruction. First of all, let's look at the body. Well, you can see the shape of the body is very nice and very accurate. And again, the molding is nice and sharp. As far as the shape of the body is concerned, it's much nicer and accurate than the old release from Fujimi. Okay, this sprue has the main chassis and some of the suspension parts and also the brake disc. And let's look at the parts in detail. Again, the molding is very nice with lots of detail on the bottom of the chassis. And here is the steering linkage, the windshield wipers, and here are some of the detail parts. The suspension arms, the front suspension complex, the instrument panel, the brake disc, and this sprue has the driver's compartment. A lot of details have been molded on, and then the door panels. And then the rest are the parts for the roll cage. And also the steering wheel and the steering column. The antenna and the rear view mirror. And here are three smaller sprues. This one contains the rear bumper, the front grille, and also the hood. Again, very nicely molded with details on them. This one has the rear wing. Again, some part of the front bumper. The muffler. And then a couple of disc brakes. Lots of detail on them. And here we have some of the details on the body. And also the shock absorbers. And lastly, we have the mufflers and the exhaust pipes. Rear view mirrors. There are many variations on them. And then the driver's seat. And more shock absorbers. I think, you know, there was one that released for the rally version, and here this one is the touring car versions, and they have different ride heights, so they should have different shock absorbers with different heights. Then more rear view mirrors, and then we have the clear parts. Again, the clear parts are very nicely molded with very little distortion and very clear. Then we come to the chrome parts. There are two small sprues. And this one are the wheels. Nice. And then the kidney grille, rear view mirror, the housing for headlights, and we can see that this is an re-release from B-Max. And lastly, we have the tires, polycap, and a small sprue of clear parts. And then a wire mesh. Well, the tire is as usual, very nice. There's not much detail on. As we can see, the shape of the tire, they are molded for negative camber. Here's the other sprue of clear parts. And then lastly, we have the beautiful decal. And the livery is the Schnitzer work team. So it's the BMW works team. Very famous livery. As we can see, the colors are very solidly printed. And the registration is very good. The white is very solid. And it's very sharp. And the gold color is nice and shiny, so it's actually metallic gold. And then we come to the instruction. Well, the same format, illustration of the car at the top, short description of the history of the car, and advice for sampling the model. And then when we open the page, on the top is the recommend paints for painting the car, instruction on how to decal, and then the symbol for assembly of the car. And then first step is to assembly the suspension and the bottom of the chassis. And then step 2 is the installation of the brake disc. And then step 3 will be the installation of some of the suspension arms and also the wheels. Step 4, adding all the details onto the driver's compartment. Step 5, the installation of the steering wheels and the steering column. And then step 6, the assembly of the roll cage. Step 7 is the completion of the driver's compartment. And then step 8, installation of the driver's compartment onto the chassis. And then step 9 is to drill some holes on the car body, and also the discard of the bracing from molding. And then we have to install the tail light housings, and then the assembly of the front grille with the front light housings, the assembly of the spoiler, and then the completion of the front of the car. Step 11 is the decaling of the front and back windshield, assembly of the windows and the windshield, installation of the rear view mirror, and then the assembly of the towing hook onto the rear bumper, painting of the tail lights, completion detail of the car body. And then we come to the installation of the lights for the night racing. And then 14 is the completion of the model, including the installation of the windshield wipers, the antenna, and also the rear wing. And lastly, we have the guide for decaling. And as usual, at the end of the instruction, there's a list of all the sprues, and then the parts that are not used for this particular model. And that's the instruction. And that's the beautiful BMW M3. And next thing I have is the detailer parts. And let's have a look at the detailer parts for this particular kit from NuNu. Again, this detailer parts contains the ribbon for safety harness, a turn metal part for the antenna, and then a piece of photo etch parts and the instruction. So for the photo etch parts, there are the belt buckles for the safety harness, some hood fasteners, and then the brake discs, the wire mesh for the radiator, and the windshield wipers, and some nuts and bolts. And then we have the machine parts for the antenna. Well, as I open up the instruction, I found that there's extra decal sheet inside. And here's the extra decal sheets. And then apart from that, we also have the instruction of where to put the decals. As you can see that the gray areas are where some of the decals goes. The back, and also the front bumpers. And then here's the instruction for the mainly photo etch parts. And first of all, we have the recommended paints for the detail up set. And step 2, which is after the paint, is the assembly of the brake discs. Step 4, some of the detail up parts inside the driver's compartment. Then we have to add the strap onto the fire extinguisher. There are two step 4. This step 4 is the assembly of the gear shifter, I think. And then the step 7. Oh, I see. This is the we've referred to step 2 in the main instruction of the kit. Step 4 of the main instruction of the kit. Step 4 of the main instruction of the kit to replace part B8, and to step 7 of the instruction of the kit is the assembly of the safety harness. And then at step 10 of the instruction, where you replace the towing hook with the photo etch part and also the wire mesh with photo etch parts. And at step 10, there's a connector valves that needs to put in there, and then replace all the hood pins. And then step 12, replacement of the towing hook, and then also replacement of the pins. And then step 12, the additional of the photo etch parts. And then step 14 is the assembly of the windshield wipers. And then lastly, we have the installation of the antenna. And that's the detailed parts for the BMW M3 kit. And that's the release of the BMW M3 kit from NuNu with a new livery. And also the detailed parts for this particular kit. And once again, I hope you like the review of these two kits. And they will be available for order at hobbyeasy.com. Once again, thank you for watching. Until next time, bye bye.